Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk. This is the show where we talk all things Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Black Lightning. And in today's video we're going to be discussing Nora Allen, what her mistake was and why she is actually here and what she knows about the future. So let's discuss. So in the season finale of The Flash, it was revealed that Nora Allen is that mysterious girl who has been showing up throughout the season. Her name is Nora Allen and she is actually the daughter of Barry and Iris, and this has actually managed to speculate a lot of things regarding where she comes from, what she knows, and she does profess that she made a big mistake, and this has led many of us to believe and start to speculate about what that mistake could be. So let's start off by discussing what Nora's mistake was. She arrives in the West household, she says this house is bitchin', which was, the reveal we were all waiting for. And then she said that she has made a big mistake. Now, what is this mistake? Well, I feel personally this is going to be something very much similar to Barry in Season 2 with Flashpoint. I feel like, the reason that Barry went back in the Season 2 finale and, ended up creating Flashpoint for Season 3, I feel it's going to be a similar situation to that. I feel like Nora has come back in time. She spent some time, in the modern day in 2018 monitoring Barry to see what he was doing because she knew there was a rupture in the timeline. She knew something had changed. And that thing that changed was that when Barry went to, stop that satellite from going down, Barry was actually going to die there. And of course, if Barry dies before Nora is born, that means Nora is going to be wiped from existence, which she doesn't really want to do. So I feel she's ran back in time, monitoring how that's all doing, and then when it came to it, she would help her father stop the satellite so that her father wasn't killed in the process. Now, I think this theory makes perfect sense because when you look at Nora in terms of what she's been doing, she's kind of been stalking everyone for the past few weeks. So, the fact that she'd come back in time to save her father definitely makes sense, especially when Marlise DeVoe actually did say that Barry kind of taking on that satellite on his own would be lethal. It would kill him. It would destroy him in the process, I believe is what she said. So, she said it would destroy him. So, the fact that he needed a helping hand, the fact that Nora came back, she knew that this was going to happen, so she came and actually helped him so that, two speedsters could take this on, and this would bring Barry out alive. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, if she didn't help out and Barry died in this situation, then that means Nora would have never been born and she would have been erased from existence. And that would be a big rupture in the timeline from where she's from. We know she's from 30 years in the future, so that means in that particular time period, the timeline would have been ruptured because she wouldn't be around. She would be dead, along with potentially, her brother, if they're going down that storyline. They haven't confirmed anything about, the twins, but personally I don't think they are. But again, there's similarly as we saw with Flashpoint, there are so many consequences that come with that. So that could be why she came back to stop him. Also, as we know from Flashpoint, if you change things from the past and you change the timeline, then that is going to cause some big problems, and that is, again, what I feel happened to Nora. She obviously came back, she stopped Barry from being killed off with that satellite in the DeVoe incident, but in doing so, she has, of course, now changed everything because she has now, changed the timeline. Now, the only thing that could kind of avoid this is that perhaps this was kind of like an anomaly where basically, because Nora was clearly born anyway, so perhaps Barry didn't die originally, but perhaps they had to kind of change it to the point where, basically Barry kind of decided spontaneously about the satellite, because obviously this satellite that DeVoe used was the Starlab satellite, which wasn't something he anticipated really. So because of that, it could be kind of like this anomalous result where Nora was like, okay, gonna have to change this, gonna have to stay, this changed, so I'm gonna have to change in response, if that makes sense. And this has caused a massive rupture in the timeline. Obviously, all this stuff gets very confusing when you talk about the Flash and timelines and things like that, but I guess all of you guys are accustomed to this by now. So personally, I think Nora's big mistake is that she, came to our time period to study Barry while he was fighting DeVoe because she knew that something was going to happen to him because there was a rupture in the timeline in the future. So she had to come back and save her father to perhaps, right the wrongs of the timeline changing from DeVoe. But then, in doing so, she's kind of caused another line of problems, and it's going to be like a Flashpoint type of scenario, and I feel like that's what's going down with Nora Allen. So being from 30 years in the future, this has granted Nora Allen to of course have a lot of information on our team that we don't know and that they don't know at this present time. One of these things I like to talk about is the Speed Force symbols. Now these things have showed up obviously since the start of Season 4, ever since Barry came out of the Speed Force, and it's kind of been this mystery that has kind of remained unexplained going into Season 5, and it's an interesting story to look at because they kind of have this deeper meaning that we don't really know yet. They're trying to explore it in a different way. We saw or Nora Allen, I still call her Dawn Allen, we saw Nora Allen actually writing these symbols while she was sat in jitters that one time. So there is definitely evidence that she knows what this is, she understands this language, she knows what it means. So this is going to be a way to actually, we can use this character to help us understand where these symbols come from, what their origin is, what they mean, and how they are used to communicate with what other things. And I think it's going to be really interesting, and she definitely knows what these symbols are, and I feel she's going to be a big player in continuing this story and looking into what they mean, because she can be the key to answering it all for us. Also, we have speculated that perhaps she knows something about Killer Frost in the future, because the way she acted when she came across Caitlyn and Jitters, she was very kind of, repetitive. She was very much non-receptive to what Caitlyn was all about, and I feel like there's something going on with Caitlyn in the future and Killer Frost in the future that perhaps has made her hesitant of Caitlyn, and perhaps maybe she's trying to change her or just doesn't want to interact with her at all, because she looked very evil when she looked at Caitlyn on the way out. So I feel like perhaps there is something going on with Killer Frost in the future. Maybe Caitlyn turns into full-on Killer Frost villain mode, like she did on Earth 2, and maybe that's what happens here in this version, or in Nora's version of the future. And maybe this is why she was so kind of frosty, if you will, towards her. So there's definitely something going on with Caitlyn in the future, and I feel like perhaps we may get some hints towards that, especially because Caitlyn's story seems to be developing a little bit more in Season 5, which I'm definitely looking forward to. And finally, there is something going on between her and Iris, because obviously she has interacted with every member of the Allen family and the West family, including her own father Barry, but she has never interacted with Iris, and she's always tried to avoid Iris. Now, I don't know why this is, because I have heard a theory out there that perhaps it's because Iris was a bad mother to her, because Iris never really had a mother figure in her life. But I just don't buy that. I don't, given the type of character that Iris is, I just don't buy it that she would be a bad mother. And because obviously she didn't have a mother figure in her own life, but if anything, that would make her more secure of Nora's life. So I can't see that happening. So why she's avoiding Iris so much, I don't know. Maybe Iris dies at some point. Maybe in her version of the future, Iris is dead, and maybe she just doesn't want to kind of interact with that or mess with that or screw with that in any single way. I don't know, there's something clearly very sacred about Iris in Nora's mind, and I'm very interested to see what that is, because obviously they're going to have to interact at some point, so it's going to be very interesting to see when this all gets revealed. But what do you guys think about Nora Allen? What do you think her mistake was, and what do you think she knows about the future? Tell me all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like I said, I feel like her big mistake was coming back and saving Barry. Although she did save her father, it's opened up another door of all these different problems and plot holes that are going to have to be explained and fixed. And in terms of what she knows from the future, she clearly understands the Speed Force symbols, she has some beef for Killer Frost, and she has something going on with Iris. So there's something that she is withholding, and something that's definitely going to have to get revealed and spilled when she comes back in Season 5. But make sure you tell me all your thoughts in the comment section down below. And also, if you like the content I make here and you want to see more of it, make sure you look at my podcast, Honor Thy Podcast, which is the weekly DC TV Arrowverse podcast I do with Mule Kick Media, where we look at all the episodes release, and we also look at the ones coming next, and also just any other news-related topics to do with the Arrowverse, we discuss it there, so I'm going to leave a link to that in the description down below. Make sure you go check out my podcast if you like the content I make here. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, it'll help me out a lot, and share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DC TV and get them to join the community. And as always guys, please subscribe for all of your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Black Lightning. And with all that said guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.